The small-town vet clinic buzzed with a quiet urgency that only late-night calls could bring. Dr. Emily had handled countless emergencies over her years in practice, but tonight felt different. The call had come from an anxious young woman named Clara, whose Labrador Bella was in labor. "Something's wrong," Clara had whispered through tears, her voice trembling. By the time Clara arrived, Bella was panting heavily, her belly contracting in waves. Dr. Emily quickly prepped the examination room, her years of training kicking in as she comforted both Bella and her frantic owner. "We'll take good care of her," Emily reassured, her tone calm and steady. The first two puppies arrived without incident, their tiny bodies wriggling as they let out their first squeaky cries. Clara watched with wide eyes, her hands clasped over her mouth. But then, the third puppy arrived, silent and unmoving. Dr. Emily's heart sank as she scooped up the small, limp body. Her hands moved instinctively, clearing the puppy's airway and rubbing its chest in firm, gentle motions. The seconds stretched into eternity. Clara's breath caught in her throat. Then, a miracle. The tiny pup gasped and let out the softest cry. Clara let out a sob of relief, tears streaming down her cheeks. As Dr. Emily placed the third puppy with its siblings, a sharp bark from Bella signaled the arrival of the final pup. But this one was different. As Emily gently cleaned the tiny creature, she noticed its back legs were unusually small, curled awkwardly beneath its fragile body. A faint whimper escaped the puppy's mouth, its spirit defiant despite its condition. Emily's brows furrowed in concern as she examined the pup more closely. "Clara, this little one, it's going to need some extra care," she said softly. Clara's eyes locked onto the tiny puppy, now nestled beside Bella's warm belly. A unique patch of fur on its chest caught the light, forming a perfect star. Clara's lips trembled into a smile. "Star," she whispered. "That's what I'll call her. She's a little fighter just like her mom." Over the next days and weeks, Star became the heart of the story, a tiny miracle who defied the odds. Clara learned how to massage her legs and help her build strength. Bella watched protectively as Clara worked tirelessly to ensure Star thrived. And as the little puppy grew, her determination became an inspiration to everyone who met her. By the time Star took her first wobbly steps, news of her story had spread throughout the town. Strangers stopped by the clinic just to see the little pup with the star on her chest, the symbol of resilience and hope. "She's proof that even the smallest among us can shine the brightest," Clara said one day, her voice full of pride as Star bounded unsteadily across the clinic floor. Dr. Emily watched with a smile, her heart full. This wasn't just another routine delivery. It was a reminder of the magic in the unexpected, a testament to love, hope, and second chances. His worry for Hope mingled with gratitude for their survival, making the drive home quiet. His thoughts were full of the tiny fighter with the heart-shaped mark. Once home, Christopher made sure Luna and her pups were comfortable in the barn before heading to his empty farmhouse. Bone tired and ready for bed, he couldn't shake the image of Hope's first determined breath. As the morning sun streamed through the barn windows, Christopher made his way to Luna's pen. His boots crunched on the fresh hay he had laid down the night before. Luna's tail wagged at his approach, her gentle eyes following his movements as he knelt beside her. 3 of the puppies squirmed and wiggled, already showing signs of strength as they pushed against each other to nurse. But Hope lay still, her tiny body trembling with effort as she tried to reach her mother's milk. Christopher's heart clenched at the sight. Luna whined softly, using her nose to nudge Hope closer to her belly. The little pup's legs, weak and underdeveloped, barely moved beneath her. "That's it, girl," Christopher murmured, watching Luna's maternal instincts at work. "Take care of your little one." Over the next few days, Christopher found himself spending more and more time in the barn. He fashioned a small platform from an old wooden box, padding it with soft blankets to help Hope reach Luna more easily. Every few hours, he checked her temperature and breathing, his worry growing as she struggled to keep up with her siblings. "Come on, Hope," he encouraged, his voice soft in the quiet barn as he helped position her for feeding. "Just a little more." His calloused hands, usually so firm on tractor wheels and fence posts, became gentle instruments of care as he tended to the fragile puppy. The other puppies tumbled and played, their strength growing daily, but it was Hope who captured Christopher's heart. Each small victory, a stronger suckle, a tiny wiggle forward, brought a smile to his weathered face. He found himself talking to her throughout the day, sharing stories as he worked around the farm. That evening, after finishing his chores, Christopher settled into the old rocking chair on his porch. Hope lay cradled in his hands, her tiny body warm against his chest. Above them, stars dotted the clear country sky, twinkling like his wife Marie's favorite diamond earrings. "You remind me of her, you know," he whispered to Hope, his voice rough with emotion. "She never gave up either, right until the end." The memory of Marie's fierce determination during her illness washed over him. Hope's small heart beat steadily against his palm, echoing the rhythm of his own heart, now filled with both sadness and possibility. As the evening chill settled around them, Christopher gazed at the stars, holding Hope close. The familiar ache of loss mingled with a new feeling, a warmth he hadn't expected to find in such a tiny, struggling creature. With a heavy sigh, he stood and carried Hope back to Luna, his mind full of memories and his heart carrying a mixture of sorrow and hope. He prepared for bed, still thinking of the little pup. The next morning, a gentle knock at the door pulled Christopher from his coffee. Through the window, he spotted Dr. Jennifer standing on his porch, holding a shoebox-sized container. His eyebrows raised in surprise. He hadn't expected any visitors. "Dr. Jennifer," he greeted as he opened the door, the spring breeze rustling his gray hair. "Is everything all right?" She smiled warmly. "Everything's fine, Mr. Watt. I hope I'm not interrupting." No, please come in," Christopher said, gesturing toward his modest kitchen. The morning sun streamed through the checkered curtains, casting a warm glow on the worn wooden table. Dr. Jennifer placed the box carefully on the table. "I've brought something for Hope," she said, her eyes twinkling with excitement. She lifted the lid, revealing a tiny contraption made of lightweight metal and cloth. "What is that?" Christopher asked, leaning closer, puzzled. "It's a custom wheelchair," she explained, lifting it out. "Gia and I have been working on it after hours. We took measurements during Hope's last checkup." She demonstrated how the small harness worked, showing how Hope's back legs would rest in the supported sling, while her front legs could move freely. 2 small wheels were attached to either side. Christopher's throat tightened as he touched the carefully crafted device. "You made this for Hope?" "We couldn't stop thinking about her spirit," Dr. Jennifer said with a smile. Christopher nodded, his emotions catching up to him. Hope's fight wasn't over, and neither was his. Dr. Emily spoke gently, her voice carrying a soothing tone. "She deserves a chance to explore like her siblings. It will take time and patience for her to adjust, but I believe she can do it." Jack nodded, clearing his throat. I don't know what to say. Thank you." After Dr. Emily left, Jack carried the small wheelchair into Daisy's enclosure. The little pup's mother, Bella, perked up her ears, watching closely as he approached Hope, the runt of the litter. Jack knelt down and carefully strapped the harness onto Hope's fragile frame. She wriggled, confused by the odd contraption, her tiny legs kicking against the straps. As Jack set her on the soft hay, Bella crept closer, sniffing the wheelchair before giving Hope a gentle nudge of encouragement. Hope whimpered, her front paws scratching at the ground as she tried to move. The wheels resisted, but she didn't give up. Each effort, though shaky, was filled with determination. Jack crouched beside her, his calloused hands ready to steady her if needed. "That's it, girl," he murmured, a mix of pride and hope stirring in his chest. Watching her try sparked something within him, a feeling he hadn't felt in years, a fight against life's odds. That night, as Jack turned off the lights and lay in bed, his thoughts wandered to the calendar. April 15th, Tucker's anniversary. A wave of sorrow and guilt washed over him, memories of his late son-in-law mingling with regret. He had been so hard on Tucker, so convinced his daughter Emma could do better. Now, all Jack had was an empty house and distant memories of Emma and his grandson Liam, whom he barely knew. The next morning, the weight of it all felt heavier. Jack went through his routine, feeding Bella and her pups, checking on Hope's wheelchair, but his mind lingered on Emma. Tucker's words echoed in his head. "Life's too short to hold on to grudges, sir." By mid-afternoon, the guilt became unbearable. Sitting at his worn kitchen table, Jack stared at his phone, Tucker's words replaying like a mantra. His fingers shook as he scrolled to Emma's number. He'd tried calling before, but she rarely picked up. Still, he hit the call button. Each ring felt like an eternity. "Dad?" Emma's voice came through, hesitant and cautious. Jack swallowed hard. "Emma." "Hi." His voice cracked slightly. "I've been thinking about you today. I know what day it is." Her tone softened. "I miss him too," she said quietly. "I miss you," Jack admitted, the words surprising even himself. "Both of you." There was a long silence before Emma spoke again, this time with less hesitation. How are you doing?" Jack told her about Bella and the puppies, his voice warming as he described Hope's determination to master her wheelchair. He could hear Emma smiling on the other end. "Liam loves dogs," she said. "He's been begging me for one." Jack's heart leapt. "You should bring him here. I mean, you're both welcome anytime." "Maybe we could visit," Emma offered. "Next weekend?" Jack's breath caught. "Yes," he said quickly, perhaps too eagerly. "That would be perfect." As they finalized the details, Jack hung up the phone, his heart racing with a mix of excitement and nerves. For the first time in years, he felt hope blooming. The days that followed were a blur of activity. Jack cleaned every corner of the old farmhouse, dusted long-forgotten shelves, and even uncovered Emma's childhood books from the attic. He replaced the sheets in the guest room and set aside a small pile of toys for Liam. When the weekend arrived, Jack found himself pacing in the living room. The sound of tires crunching on gravel froze him in place. Through the window, he spotted a silver SUV pulling into the driveway. His hands trembled as he smoothed down his shirt and stepped outside. Emma emerged first, her familiar smile bringing tears to his eyes. Then Liam, clutching a small backpack, peeked out from behind her. Jack crouched down, a wide grin spreading across his face. "Hi there, buddy," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Liam's eyes lit up. "Mom says you have puppies," Jack laughed. "That I do. Come on, let's go meet them." As they walked toward the barn together, the air felt lighter, filled with something Jack hadn't felt in a long time: family. Christopher stepped onto the porch, his feet feeling as heavy as lead. From the driver's side of the car emerged Ashley, looking so much like her mother, it made his chest ache. From the passenger seat came a small boy with sandy brown hair. "Jamie, say hi to Dad," Ashley said softly, standing at the bottom of the porch steps. Her voice carried the weight of years of unspoken words. "Ashley," Christopher began, clearing his throat. You look wonderful." Jamie pressed closer to his mother's side, one small hand clutching her jacket. Ashley rested a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Jamie, this is your grandfather." Christopher knelt down, ignoring the protest from his aging knees. "Hello there, Jamie. I've been looking forward to meeting you properly." Jamie peeked out from behind Ashley, offering a tiny wave, but no words. "Would you both like to come in?" Christopher asked. "I've got breakfast ready, pancakes and eggs. Nothing fancy, but they're warm." Inside, they settled around the kitchen table. The silence between them was thick, almost tangible, as syrup and butter were passed back and forth. Christopher watched Jamie push his eggs around his plate, the gesture reminding him so much of Ashley at that age. "The pancakes are good," Ashley said, breaking the tension. "You always did like them," Christopher replied softly. "Your mother's recipe. I never could get them quite as perfect as she did, though." Jamie's eyes flicked up at the mention of his grandmother, curiosity briefly sparking across his face. "Jamie," Christopher said, seizing the moment, "would you like to meet Luna and her puppies? They're out in the barn." For the first time that morning, Jamie's face lit up. "Puppies?" he asked, his voice small but eager. Christopher led them to the barn, where Luna lay on a bed of fresh straw, her puppies squirming around her. Jamie's eyes grew wide, a smile spreading across his face. "This here is Luna," Christopher said, kneeling beside the mother dog. "And these are her babies." Jamie crept closer, careful and quiet. His gaze landed on Hope, a tiny puppy attempting to scoot closer to her siblings in a miniature wheelchair. "What's wrong with that one?" Jamie asked, his voice filled with concern rather than judgment. "That's Hope," Christopher explained. "She was born with trouble in her legs, but she's the bravest puppy I've ever known." Jamie reached out slowly, letting Hope sniff his hand before gently stroking her fur. The tiny puppy responded with a soft lick to his fingers, making Jamie giggle. From the barn doorway, Ashley watched, tears gathering in her eyes as she saw her son's gentle interaction with Hope and her father's patient guidance. That night, as they settled into bed, Ashley and Jamie in the guest room, Christopher in his familiar spot, the farmhouse felt warmer, filled with a sense of possibility none of them had dared to hope for in years. At dawn, Jamie crept down the creaky farmhouse stairs. He found Christopher already in the kitchen, sipping coffee at the table. "Can we go see the puppies?" Jamie whispered, bouncing on his toes. Christopher smiled, setting down his mug. "Of course, but first, let me teach you the proper way to handle them." In the barn, Christopher showed Jamie how to hold a puppy. "Always support their body," he explained, carefully lifting one of the stronger puppies. "See how I'm holding him? Make sure to support their bottom and chest." Jamie nodded seriously, his wide eyes focused. When Christopher set the puppy down, Jamie gravitated toward Hope, who lay in her special corner, watching her siblings tumble. "Can I help her with her wheelchair?" Jamie asked. "You sure can. Just remember, she's still learning." Christopher showed Jamie how to position Hope's tiny legs in the supports. Hope wiggled, trying to move forward. Jamie crawled beside her, offering gentle encouragement. "That's it, Hope. You can do it," he cheered as the puppy managed a wobbly step. Back in the farmhouse, Ashley stood by the kitchen window, watching her son with Hope. She cradled a warm coffee mug in her hands, turning as Christopher entered. "He's got a natural way with animals," Christopher said, joining her at the counter. Ashley nodded, her throat tight. "Just like Tucker did." She paused, taking a shaky breath. "It's been so hard since we lost him. Sometimes I look at Jamie, and I see his father's smile, and it just—" Christopher reached over, placing his weathered hand over hers. "I'm sorry, Ashley, for everything. I was wrong about Tucker, and I was wrong to let my pride keep me away all these years." "Dad," Ashley's voice cracked, "you've missed so much of Jamie's life, of mine. But if you want to make it right, I'd like that." Christopher's hand gave hers a reassuring squeeze. "I'd like that too." Ashley wiped her eyes with the back of her hand as she stood on the porch, gazing at the setting sun. The brilliant oranges and pinks painted the sky, casting a warm glow over the farm. Jamie was playing in the yard, laughter ringing out as he encouraged Hope, their smallest pup, to take another step in her tiny wheelchair. Luna, ever watchful, lay nearby, her protective eyes never leaving her little one. "Look, Mom! Grandpa! She's doing it!" Jamie called out, his voice brimming with excitement. Hope's tail wagged furiously as she managed a few determined steps. The sight filled the yard with an unspoken joy. Ashley and Christopher shared a warm smile, the kind that only family moments like these could bring. Jamie clapped his hands and cheered, his encouragement ringing in the cool evening air. The next morning, the grass was still damp with dew as the family returned outside. Jamie knelt a few feet away from Hope, her tiny wheelchair gleaming in the sunlight. "Come on, Hope. You can do it," he urged softly. Hope hesitated, her small body unsure of the contraption supporting her. Her legs trembled slightly as she tried to move forward. "That's it. Nice and easy," Christopher encouraged, crouching beside Jamie. With a wobble, then a tentative step, Hope began to move. The wheels of her chair turned slowly, but steadily. Jamie's face lit up with pure delight. "She did it!" he exclaimed, clapping his hands. Throughout the day, they worked with Hope, cheering her on with every small victory. Step by step, she grew more confident, her progress a testament to her determination and to Jamie's unwavering encouragement. "She's just like you, Jamie," Christopher said, ruffling his grandson's hair. "Never giving up, always trying harder." That evening, with the sky turning a soft purple, Christopher tucked Jamie into bed. The boy's excitement still bubbled over as he talked about Hope's progress. "Can we practice more tomorrow, Grandpa?" he asked, yawning. "Of course," Christopher replied with a smile. "She's lucky to have such a great trainer." As the farmhouse settled into the quiet of night, Christopher sat by his window, the warmth of the day still lingering. The sound of Jamie's gentle breathing and Ashley's movements downstairs filled the house with a sense of peace that Christopher hadn't felt in years. In the days that followed, life on the farm fell into a comfortable rhythm. Ashley and Christopher worked side by side, their movements in sync as they tackled the chores. In the mornings, Ashley prepared breakfast while Christopher fed the animals. In the afternoons, they worked together in the barn, sorting feed or mending fences. One sunny afternoon, Ashley paused as they worked. "You know, Dad, she began softly. "I used to be so angry with you about Tucker." Christopher stilled, his weathered hands resting on a sack of grain. The barn was quiet, except for the distant clucking of chickens. "I didn't understand how you could disapprove of someone who made me so happy," she continued, her voice catching. "But watching you with Jamie these past few days, seeing how much you care for Hope, it's helped me see things differently." Christopher's eyes grew misty as he stepped closer. "I was wrong about Tucker," he admitted, his voice heavy with emotion. "I was so focused on what I thought was best for you. I didn't see what actually was. I'm sorry, Ashley." Ashley reached for his hand, her heart softening. "I know, Dad, and I forgive you." That evening, after a hearty dinner, the family gathered in the living room. The fireplace crackled warmly, casting flickering shadows on the walls. Jamie sat on the floor with Hope in front of him, her wheelchair gleaming in the firelight. "Watch this!" Jamie called out excitedly. "She's gotten so good!" Hope wheeled herself across the room with surprising confidence. Ashley and Christopher laughed, their pride and joy evident. "She's amazing!" Ashley said, her laughter bubbling over as Hope reached Jamie, her tail wagging furiously. Christopher chuckled, his deep laugh blending with Ashley's. The room was filled with warmth, not just from the fire, but from the shared love that now seemed to radiate from every corner of the old farmhouse. As the days turned into weeks, the family found themselves moving together in harmony. Jamie thrived under Christopher's guidance, and Ashley rediscovered the bond she thought she had lost with her father. Life on the farm, slow and steady, seemed to heal old wounds, each moment a reminder of what truly mattered: love, determination, and the joy of being together. Jaime exclaimed, clapping his hands with excitement. Ashley's heart melted as she watched her son's confidence grow with each small victory. Throughout the day, Jaime stayed by Hope's side, cheering her on and celebrating every milestone. 3 steps here, 4 steps there. Christopher couldn't help but notice the transformation in his grandson, the way Jaime's shoulders straightened and his voice carried more confidence with each passing moment. "She's just like you, Jaime," Christopher said, ruffling his grandson's hair. "Never giving up, always trying harder." That evening, after a day full of progress, Christopher tucked Jaime into bed. "Can we help Hope practice more tomorrow?" Jaime asked, his eyes heavy with sleep. "Of course we can," Christopher promised, pulling the blanket up to Jaime's chin. "She's lucky to have such a good trainer." In the days that followed, the family settled into a comfortable rhythm. Ashley fand Heartwarming into the simple, satisfying routines of farm life. In the mornings, she prepared breakfast while Christopher tended to the animals. In the afternoons, they worked side by side, repairing fences and feeding the chickens. One warm afternoon in the barn, Ashley paused, her hands resting on a sack of feed. "You know, Dad," she began softly, "I used to be so angry with you about Tucker." Christopher stilled, his weathered hands resting on a bale of hay. "I couldn't understand how you could disapprove of someone who made me so happy," Ashley continued, her voice catching. "But seeing you with Jaime these past few days, watching how you care for Hope, it's helped me understand you better." Christopher's eyes grew misty. "I was wrong about Tucker," he admitted. "I thought I knew what was best for you, but I see now that I didn't." He stepped closer, taking Ashley's hand. "I promise, from now on, I'll be here for you and Jaime, whatever you need." That evening, the family gathered in the living room, the fireplace casting a warm glow. Jaime sat cross-legged on the rug, Hope's wheelchair positioned in front of him. "Watch this!" Jaime said excitedly. "Hope's gotten so good!" With a look of fierce determination, Hope wheeled herself across the room. Ashley and Christopher clapped and laughed as Hope reached Haim, her tail wagging furiously. The sound of their shared joy filled the farmhouse, weaving its way into the very walls. Later that night, after Jaime was fast asleep, Ashley joined Christopher at the kitchen table. "Dad," she said softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Thank you for everything you've done for Hope and Jaime. It means so much to me." In the days that followed, Christopher found himself moving slower. His joints ached, and the demands of the farm weighed heavily on him. One evening, as Ashley noticed his weariness, she made a decision. "Dad," she said over dinner, "what if Jaime and I moved here to the farm? We could help with the work and take care of Hope together." Christopher looked at her, surprised but hopeful. "You'd really want to do that?" Ashley nodded. "Jaime loves it here. And for me, this feels like a fresh start." Christopher's heart swelled. "Yes," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'd like that very much." The next morning, the farmhouse was alive with activity. Ashley hung fresh curtains, unpacked boxes, and arranged family photos on the mantel. Jaime threw himself into farm life, collecting eggs and helping with chores. By evening, as the family sat together in the living room, the warmth of their bond was unmistakable. Luna's puppies tumbled around on the rug, and Hope, growing stronger every day, wobbled determinedly in her wheelchair, chasing after her siblings. For the first time in years, Christopher felt a deep sense of peace. The farm, once quiet and lonely, was now filled with laughter and love. A place where hope truly thrived. Jamie lay on his stomach, watching the puppies play, while Ashley curled up in the old armchair with a steaming cup of tea. Christopher sat in his favorite chair, observing the scene with a quiet sense of contentment. The room felt different now, fuller, warmer, more alive. He watched as Hope, the smallest puppy, managed to keep up with her brothers and sisters, her determination mirroring the newfound unity within his family. Looking at Ashley and Jamie, both so at ease in his home, Christopher felt a surge of gratitude. Somehow, this tiny puppy had helped bring his family back together, giving them all a second chance at being whole. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight peeked over the horizon, Christopher headed downstairs to check on Hope. The morning dew clung to the grass as he stepped onto the porch, surprised to find Jamie already outside, dressed in pajamas and rubber boots. "Look, Grandpa!" Jamie called out, his voice bursting with excitement. "Hope's getting really good at this." Christopher watched as the small puppy navigated her wheelchair across the damp grass, following Jamie's gentle encouragement. Nearby, Luna lay watchfully, her eyes never leaving her smallest pup. Hope's determination shone in every movement, her tiny legs working in perfect harmony with the wheels. "She's doing great, buddy," Christopher said, joining Jamie in the yard. "You're becoming quite the trainer." Over the next week, Hope's progress became more evident with each passing day. Jamie spent every spare moment with her, building obstacle courses out of cardboard boxes and teaching her to maneuver around them. He carried treats in his pockets, rewarding her successful attempts with soft praise and gentle scratches behind her ears. Christopher noticed the change in Jamie too. The shy boy who had first arrived at the farm was transforming before his eyes. Jamie spoke more confidently, smiled more often, and threw himself into farm life with growing enthusiasm. His dedication to Hope brought out a natural leadership quality that had been hidden beneath his quiet demeanor. One afternoon, Christopher watched from the barn as Jamie guided Hope through a new challenge, navigating a gentle slope near the garden. The puppy hesitated at first, but Jamie's patient encouragement gave her the courage to try. "You can do it, Hope," Jamie called, holding a treat just out of reach. "Just like we practiced." Hope pushed forward, her wheels rolling steadily down the incline. When she reached Jamie, his face lit up with pride. That evening, as Ashley served dinner, Jamie could barely contain his excitement. He sat up straight in his chair, his voice bubbling over as he shared the day's accomplishments. "Guess what?" Jamie announced. "Hope followed me all the way across the yard today, and I barely had to help her at all. She's getting so strong." Christopher caught Ashley's eye across the table, and they shared a knowing smile. The pride in Jamie's voice was unmistakable, matching the newfound confidence in his posture and speech. Hope's journey was doing more than helping a puppy learn to walk. It was helping Jamie discover his own inner strength. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows as Ashley and Christopher prepared breakfast together. The familiar sizzle of bacon filled the air as Ashley poured pancake batter onto the griddle. "It's amazing how different everything feels now," Ashley said, flipping a pancake. "This kitchen used to seem so empty when I was growing up." Christopher nodded as he turned the bacon. "Having you and Jamie here has brought life back to this old house." He paused, then added, "I've been thinking about expanding the farm. Maybe adding some sheep or goats. Jamie seems to have a natural way with animals." "He does," Ashley agreed. "It would be good for him to have more responsibilities. And honestly, for me too. I feel more settled here than I have in years." Later that afternoon, Christopher drove them to the Thompson farm to pick up supplies. As they pulled up, two children around Jamie's age played in the yard. Jamie instinctively moved closer to Ashley, his shoulders tensing. The Thompson kids waved and called out a cheerful hello. "Why don't you go say hi?" Ashley encouraged gently. "I heard they have some new baby goats in the barn." Jamie hesitated, but his curiosity won out. Slowly, he approached the other children. Soon, laughter floated out from the barn. "I can't remember the last time I heard him laugh like that with other kids," Ashley said softly. On the drive home, Jamie excitedly recounted his visit, his face glowing with joy. In the passenger seat, Ashley turned to Christopher. "Dad, I want to thank you for everything. Moving here has given us both something we needed, a sense of belonging again." Christopher's eyes grew misty as he glanced at his daughter. "Having you both here has filled an emptiness I didn't even realize was there," he said, looking at Jamie in the rearview mirror, fast asleep in the back seat. The next day, dark clouds loomed on the horizon. Christopher stepped onto the porch, feeling the heaviness in the air. "Ashley," he called through the screen door, "we'd better secure everything. Looks like a big storm coming." Ashley joined him, scanning the sky. "I'll help move Luna and the puppies inside." The family worked quickly, securing the barn doors and gathering fresh straw for the animals. Jamie followed, carrying Hope carefully in his arms. "Will they be okay in the barn?" Jamie asked, his voice tinged with worry. "The barn's the safest place for them," Christopher assured him. "It's weathered many storms before." As the first raindrops fell, they hurried back to the house. Thunder rumbled as Jamie settled by the window, holding Hope close. "Don't be scared," he whispered. "I'll keep you safe." The storm raged through the night, but in the warmth of the house, the family found comfort in each other, grateful for the bond that had grown stronger with every passing day. Jamie lay on his stomach, watching the puppies tumble and play in the soft grass. Across the room, Ashley was curled up in the old armchair with a steaming cup of tea, her eyes soft with contentment. Christopher, seated in his favorite chair, observed the scene with a quiet smile. The room felt different now, fuller, warmer, and more alive. He glanced at Hope, the smallest of the puppies, as she valiantly kept up with her siblings, her little wheelchair rolling across the floor with determination. Christopher's chest swelled with gratitude. Somehow, this tiny pup had managed to mend the invisible fractures in his family, offering them all a second chance to feel whole again. As the first rays of dawn painted the horizon the next morning, Christopher padded downstairs to check on Hope. The dew still clung to the grass as he stepped onto the porch, only to find Jamie already outside, dressed in his pajamas and rubber boots. "Look, Grandpa!" Jamie called, his voice brimming with excitement. "Hope's getting so good at this!" Christopher watched as the small puppy navigated her wheelchair across the damp lawn, her movements steady and sure. Nearby, Luna, the mother dog, kept a watchful eye on her smallest pup. Hope's determination was evident in every step she took, her tiny legs working in tandem with the wheels. "She's doing great, buddy," Christopher said, joining Jamie in the yard. "You're becoming quite the trainer." Over the next week, Hope's progress was remarkable. Jamie dedicated himself to her training, setting up small obstacle courses made of cardboard boxes and encouraging her with gentle words and treats. Each successful attempt was met with cheers and scratches behind her ears. Christopher noticed a change in Jamie too. The shy, withdrawn boy who had first arrived at the farm was transforming. He spoke more confidently, smiled more often, and tackled farm life with growing enthusiasm. Hope's journey seemed to unlock a quiet strength in Jamie, revealing a natural leadership quality hidden beneath his timid exterior. One sunny afternoon, Christopher leaned against the barn, watching as Jamie encouraged Hope to navigate a gentle slope near the garden. At first, the puppy hesitated, but Jamie's patient encouragement spurred her on. "You can do it, Hope!" Jamie called, holding out a treat. "Just like we practiced." With steady determination, Hope pushed forward, her wheels rolling smoothly down the incline. When she reached Jamie, his face lit up with pride. That evening, as they gathered around the kitchen table for dinner, Jamie could barely contain his excitement. "Guess what?" he announced, his eyes bright. "Hope followed me all the way across the yard today, and I barely had to help her." Christopher exchanged a knowing smile with Ashley. The pride in Jamie's voice was unmistakable, reflecting the newfound confidence that now showed in his posture and demeanor. Hope's journey wasn't just about teaching a puppy to walk. It was helping Jamie discover his own inner strength. Later that night, a storm rolled in, bringing heavy rain and strong winds. The rising water forced the family into action. Christopher and Ashley worked together to secure the animals, while Jamie waded through the muddy yard to rescue Hope, her wheelchair stuck in the muck. "I'm coming, Hope," Jamie called, determination etched on his face. Together with Christopher, they freed the puppy and carried her to safety. Inside the house, Jamie wrapped Hope in a towel, whispering softly to calm her. The next morning, the farm bore the scars of the storm. Broken fences and standing water stretched across the property. As Christopher and Ashley surveyed the damage, Jamie sat nearby, cradling Hope in his lap. His bond with the little puppy seemed unshakable, a source of comfort for them both. Soon, help arrived in the form of neighbors bearing tools and supplies. They worked together to repair the damage, their collective effort transforming the farm back to its former glory. Jamie's shyness faded as he shared stories of the storm and Hope's bravery with the other children. By the end of the day, the farm buzzed with renewed energy and life. A week later, Dr. Jennifer arrived for a checkup on Hope and the other puppies. Jamie greeted her with boundless excitement. "Wait until you see what Hope can do now," he said, leading her to the yard. Dr. Jennifer watched in amazement as Hope maneuvered her wheelchair with ease, her little legs pushing forward with determination. "She's come so far," Dr. Jennifer said, smiling warmly at Jamie. "And so have you." Christopher stood nearby, his heart full as he watched his grandson beam with pride. The journey of one small puppy had brought healing and growth to their family, proving that even the tiniest steps forward can lead to incredible transformations. Hope confidently maneuvered her wheelchair, her tiny frame more robust now, her coat shinier and movements more coordinated than ever. "This is remarkable, Doctor," Jennifer said, kneeling to examine Hope closely. "She's so much stronger. Jimmy's been working with her every day," Christopher explained, pride evident in his voice. "He's got quite a way with her." "Can I show you what we've been practicing?" Jimmy asked eagerly. When Dr. Jennifer nodded, he moved a few steps away and called, "Hope, come!" Without hesitation, Hope wheeled herself toward Jimmy, her tail wagging joyfully. Jimmy set up a small obstacle course he had made with wooden blocks. "Hope, go!" he called again. Everyone watched in amazement as Hope carefully navigated around each obstacle, making her way to Jimmy without assistance. "I can't believe this," Dr. Jennifer said, shaking her head in wonder. "When I first designed that wheelchair, I wasn't sure she'd ever adapt to it this well. Jimmy, you've done an incredible job training her." Jimmy's face lit up with pride as he gently patted Hope. "She's really smart. She tries so hard every day." That evening, Ashley prepared a special dinner to celebrate Hope's progress. The kitchen filled with the warm aroma of pot roast, and Jimmy insisted on giving Hope an extra special treat he had saved for the occasion. As they gathered around the table, Christopher raised his glass of lemonade. "To Hope," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "the little puppy who never gave up and brought this family back together." Jimmy grinned, clinking his glass with Christopher's, while Ashley wiped a happy tear from her eye. Hope sat contentedly at Jimmy's feet, her tail thumping steadily against the floor. Over the next few weeks, word spread about Luna's puppies, and Christopher spent evenings speaking with potential adopters. He took his responsibility seriously, carefully noting details about each family to ensure the puppies went to loving homes. "We need to make sure they go to the right families," Christopher explained to Jimmy one evening as they sat on the porch. "These puppies deserve families who will love them as much as we do." When the first family arrived to take their puppy home, Jimmy hugged the small brown and white pup tightly, burying his face in its soft fur. "I don't want them to go," he whispered to Ashley. Ashley knelt beside him, gently stroking his hair. "I know it's hard, sweetheart, but think about how much joy this puppy will bring to their little girl, just like Hope brings joy to you." Jimmy nodded slowly, understanding but still sad. He gave the puppy one final pat before the family drove away. Over the following days, the remaining puppies found new homes, each goodbye emotional but growing easier for Jimmy. He helped Christopher prepare care packages for each family, including a favorite toy and detailed care instructions. Finally, only Luna and Hope remained. "Hope's staying with us forever, right?" Jimmy asked Christopher as the last family drove away. Christopher smiled warmly, watching Hope nestled in Jimmy's lap. "She's part of our family now, buddy. She was always meant to be here with us." The farm settled into a comfortable rhythm. Each morning, Christopher would find Jimmy already up, helping with chores. Luna followed them around, while Hope zoomed along in her wheelchair, stronger and more confident every day. Christopher took pride in teaching Jimmy about farming, and Ashley brought order to the farmhouse, managing finances and organizing paperwork. One warm afternoon, Christopher sat on the porch, watching Hope chase butterflies. Her determination reminded him of those uncertain early days when her survival was uncertain. Now, she raced around the yard, her wheels kicking up dust, a testament to resilience. Hope had brought their family back together, healing rifts and sparking hope in them all. That evening at dinner, Jimmy could barely contain his excitement. "Grandpa," he said, bouncing in his seat, "I have an idea. Can we build a special play area for Hope with ramps and tunnels?" Ashley smiled at her son's enthusiasm. "That's a wonderful idea. It would help her exercise more." Christopher nodded. "We can use some of that leftover lumber from the barn repairs." They spent the evening planning, with Jimmy sketching a design filled with colorful slides and obstacle courses. Over the next few months, they worked tirelessly to bring the idea to life. When the play area was finally complete, Jimmy watched nervously as Hope explored the ramps, tunnels, and shallow pool. She maneuvered the obstacles effortlessly, her tail wagging with excitement. "Do you think she likes it?" Jimmy asked Christopher. Christopher smiled, watching Hope wheel confidently up a ramp. "I think she loves it." The play area quickly became a community attraction. Neighbors brought their dogs to visit, and even Dr. Jennifer stopped by with her rescue dog. Jimmy beamed with pride as he demonstrated Hope's skills, sharing her story with anyone who would listen. "She couldn't even move when she was born," Jimmy explained to the Miller children, "but she never gave up." By the end of the day, Hope was dozing contentedly in her wheelchair, her determination inspiring everyone she met. Sitting on the porch steps, Jimmy and Christopher watched the sun set over the farm. "Everyone loves Hope," Jimmy said softly. Christopher nodded, his heart full. "And she loves everyone right back." Jimmy sat on the porch, gazing thoughtfully at the horizon. "Did you see how Tommy's little sister wasn't scared of Hope's wheelchair at all?" he asked. "She said Hope was the bravest dog she'd ever met." Christopher nodded, recalling the reactions of the visitors earlier that day. Many had been moved to tears watching Hope play so joyfully, her tiny wheelchair carrying her across the yard with ease. Others had shared their own stories of overcoming challenges, inspired by the little dog's determination. The crisp autumn air brought a sense of renewal to the farm. Leaves turned shades of gold and crimson, blanketing the ground in vibrant hues. Jimmy, once shy and reserved, now bounded off the school bus each afternoon, eager to recount his adventures to his family and Hope. One Tuesday afternoon, Jimmy surprised Ashley by asking if he could invite some friends over to see the farm. "Tommy and Sarah from my science class really want to meet Hope," he explained, fidgeting with excitement. "I told them all about her wheelchair and how she never gives up." Ashley's heart swelled with pride as Jimmy gave his friends a tour that weekend. He confidently showed them how to feed the chickens and explained Hope's daily exercises. The children gathered around Hope, marveling at how effortlessly she navigated the play area in her wheelchair. Later that week, Jimmy joined the school's nature club. According to his teacher, he was now raising his hand more in class discussions and had even volunteered to give a presentation about farm animals. Watching Jimmy flourish brought tears to Ashley's eyes. The timid boy who had arrived at the farm months ago was now a confident and caring child. "The farm has given him so much," Ashley thought one afternoon as she folded laundry on the porch. Memories of their old house in town, quiet and empty after Tucker's passing, felt like a distant dream. Here, Surrounded by the warmth of family and the daily miracles of Hope's progress, they had found a healing they hadn't known they needed. Christopher's patient guidance had been instrumental in this transformation. He taught Jimmy about responsibility through caring for the animals, celebrated his small victories, and provided the grandfatherly love Jimmy had been missing. The farm had become more than just a home. It was the foundation upon which their family had rebuilt itself. One crisp morning, Christopher stepped onto the porch, Hope by his side. Her wheelchair gleamed in the early light as she wagged her tail eagerly. Ashley emerged from the house, wrapped in a cozy sweater. "Perfect morning for a walk," Christopher said, breathing in the cool autumn air. The three set off along the well-worn path that circled the property. Hope's wheels crunched over fallen leaves as she navigated rocks and twigs with practiced ease. The vibrant red and gold leaves of the maple and oak trees fluttered down in the gentle breeze. "Remember when Jimmy first tried to help Hope with her wheelchair?" Ashley asked, her voice soft. "He was so gentle with her." Christopher nodded. "We can use some of that leftover lumber from the barn repairs." They spent the evening planning, with Jimmy sketching a design filled with colorful slides and obstacle courses. Over the next few months, they worked tirelessly to bring the idea to life. When the play area was finally complete, Jimmy watched nervously as Hope explored the ramps, tunnels, and shallow pool. She maneuvered the obstacles effortlessly, her tail wagging with excitement. "Do you think she likes it?" Jimmy asked Christopher. Christopher smiled, watching Hope wheel confidently up a ramp. "I think she loves it." The play area quickly became a community attraction. Neighbors brought their dogs to visit, and even Dr. Jennifer stopped by with her rescue dog. Jimmy beamed with pride as he demonstrated Hope's skills, sharing her story with anyone who would listen. "She couldn't even move when she was born," Jimmy explained to the Miller children, "but she never gave up." By the end of the day, Hope was dozing contentedly in her wheelchair, her determination inspiring everyone she met. Sitting on the porch steps, Jimmy and Christopher watched the sun set over the farm. "Everyone loves Hope," Jimmy said softly. Christopher nodded, his heart full. "And she loves everyone right back." Jimmy sat on the porch, gazing thoughtfully at the horizon. "Did you see how Tommy's little sister wasn't scared of Hope's wheelchair at all?" he asked. "She said Hope was the bravest dog she'd ever met." Christopher nodded, recalling the reactions of the visitors earlier that day. Many had been moved to tears watching Hope play so joyfully, her tiny wheelchair carrying her across the yard with ease. Others had shared their own stories of overcoming challenges, inspired by the little dog's determination. The crisp autumn air brought a sense of renewal to the farm. Leaves turned shades of gold and crimson, blanketing the ground in vibrant hues. Christopher smiled. "That boy has such a big heart, just like his mother." They paused under the old oak tree that marked the halfway point of their walk. In the distance, Jimmy was already setting up small obstacles for Hope to practice with. His laughter rang out as Hope successfully navigated the cones. Christopher felt a wave of emotion as he watched his grandson's confidence shine. The shy child who had once arrived at the farm was now vibrant and self-assured. Hope had shown them all what was possible with love, patience, and determination. As winter approached, the family prepared for a special celebration, Hope's first birthday. The kitchen was filled with the sweet aroma of vanilla as Jimmy and Ashley decorated a small cake adorned with dog-safe treats. "Do you think Hope will like it?" Jimmy asked, adjusting a treat that had tilted. "She'll love it," Ashley replied, ruffling his hair, "especially since you made it." Outside, Christopher arranged chairs around a table adorned with blue and white streamers. Hope followed him, her tail wagging as she watched the preparations. Luna, her mother, lounged nearby, keeping a watchful eye. Neighbors and friends arrived, bringing brightly wrapped gifts. Dr. Jennifer, who had helped deliver Hope, knelt down to greet her. "I can hardly believe this is the same tiny puppy," she said, her eyes glistening. "You've come so far, little one." During the celebration, Jimmy proudly demonstrated Hope's newest tricks, weaving between cones and following commands with precision. The crowd cheered, amazed by her determination. When it came time for Jimmy's speech, he stood nervously before the crowd. "Before Hope came, I was scared of a lot of things," he began. "But watching her try so hard every day, never giving up even when things were tough, made me want to be brave too. She's my best friend, and she taught me that being different doesn't mean you can't do amazing things." Tears glistened in Ashley's eyes as Christopher squeezed her hand. Around them, the neighbors nodded, many sharing how Hope's story had inspired them. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the yard, Jimmy laughed joyfully as Hope chased him around. Her wheelchair moved smoothly over the packed earth, her spirit unyielding. The little dog who had once struggled to survive now raced through life with boundless enthusiasm, teaching everyone around her the power of love, courage, and determination. If you were moved by Christopher's story, you won't want to miss this next one. It's another tale of courage and connection between humans and the animals they love. Click here to watch.